From Variety, celebrating more than 119 years covering the business of entertainment, this is the Award Circuit Podcast. On Netflix's The Residence, a quirky murder mystery from Shonda Rhimes' Shondaland label, Uzo Aduba stars as Cordelia Cupp, widely considered the best detective in the world, who also happens to be a bit eccentric with a particular obsession for bird watching. Now, Aduba knows a lot more about birds than she ever thought she would.
I'd never heard of a grackle before. I know what that purple grackle. I know the snow-spotted owl. I came in knowing what a hummingbird and a red robin are, and now I know what a giant amphibian is.
Yes.
I'm Michael Schneider, and on this episode of the Variety Award Circuit Podcast, we talk to the resident stars Uzo Aduba and Randall Park about their series, their theories, their chemistry, and thoughts on a season 2. But first, on the roundtable, as Emmy voting comes to a close, we look one more time at the major categories, how the number of submissions has changed some of the competition, and who didn't bother to join in. It's all next on this edition of the Variety Award Circuit Podcast. Stay close.
It is panic time, everybody. I'm just starting off with that. Hi, I am Variety's Michael Schneider, along with Clayton Davis and Jazz Tanke. And gang, there's only a few more days to vote. It is Thursday as you're listening to this. Voting is done on Monday, so you have the weekend to finish up those binges. It's not too late, but things are getting down to the wire now. So again,
people are panicking, though. Seriously,
it's Emmy vote panic. To trademark that. It's now's the time. Now this is when they're calling up Jazz last minute. They're like, Jazz, can you one more story? Jazz like, no.
Can we come together as a nation real quick and just talk about that and just say we're in the middle of Emmy voting, it whatever's done is done. There is
whatever. Yes, whatever.
Yes.
That one more article isn't going to be it. Just leave it at that.
No. And that person who refused to campaign throughout the season is suddenly freaking out the week before voting's due. I mean, I'm sorry, but you had your time. You had your moment. You blew it. That's on you.
We can't take your stress on. I'm really sorry. You had from whenever your show aired to
Yeah. Now, that being said, that's where it's handy having my Awards HQ newsletter, which comes out every Monday that people should be reading. And I do sort of, some fun last minute campaigning I do include. So that is the place. If you're doing something fun this final weekend, then send along photos, write-ups, and I will include that in the newsletter because that's what it's all about. Sort of, boots on the ground. This is what's happening in Emmy campaign land. So do go check out Awards HQ, which will continue, in phase 2 as well. So, yeah. But Clayton, you've been busy going through all the submissions and you found some interesting tidbits. So share with the class.
It was an 820-page document, kind of like a law that's being passed through Congress. And it drops on one random morning when voting opens. And I'm still going through it because you have to comb through and compare what you had.
Yeah.
I think the big takeaway or the kind of high level is that there's 15 categories that everyone votes on in the entire Academy, and that's all the series categories. And there were exactly 600 series submissions, which is down again from last year. We had 614. So.
No, but I guess all things considered, that's not. I mean, considering this is the end of peak TV, all that rhetoric, we're
still at the strike. This is the end of the strike era.
Yeah.
So I think I think that's actually fine. But that yielded a lot less submissions in the acting categories, and I think the biggest takeaway was lead drama for actor and actress are going to have 5 this year, which we had expected 6 because it's been 6 for so long.
Yeah.
And that tightens things up a lot for that group.
that was already a bloodbath. So that's going to be so interesting. Sacrificed.
I mean, well, because people can say like lead actor drama is interesting because I know there's a clear top 2 that I think we all agree on. It's going to be like Adam Scott versus Noah Wyle. And then we all kind of have this like fair assumption that Gary Oldman would return. But then there's a lot of people who look to be, and I guess I say look to be at the moment, could be one of the only representations of their shows, which would be like John Hamm, Your Friends and Neighbors, Sterling K. Brown from Paradise, Eddie Redmayne from The Day of the Jackal. And then you have like Andor that's expected to do really well because it's really beloved, and also ratings came out and it like did amazing on the ratings chart.
Peaking at the right time, peaking at
Like
the perfect time.
incredible moment for it. But we've been here also before with The Mandalorian. They're not kind to sci-fi.
Right. I mean, below the line, maybe.
Oh, yeah,
As we remember, Mandalorian was a monster and then didn't pick up, anything much above the line. But
yeah, I mean, granted, Pedro was in a suit, and we never saw him without a helmet.
right. We still don't quite know how much Pedro was actually on set. Yeah. Still kind of, they've kept that under wraps.
So that's why lead actor gets really like interesting, but then lead actress also has that kind of same problem with Kathy Bates, Melanie Linsky, Elizabeth Moss from Matlock, Yellow Jackets, and The Handmaid's Tale, unless you think that they're just going to do better than we think they're going to do, which is possible.
I think Kathy Bates is a sure. Is she sure? I mean, I think so, based on like people loving.
Yeah, I hate using the word lock when it comes to Emmys, because ask Jonathan Banks about being a lock for so long of a season, for Better Call Saul, and then just not getting in the end. So sometimes you can be surprised.
Well, and especially if we have a smaller number of nominees in these categories, it's tougher to say locks anymore. Yeah. And that goes to the point of, and we've been hammering this for years, there needs to be more of a standard. I just don't know if maybe that sort of that worked in the era of peak TV where there were so many submissions that you could have this rolling scale, but I don't know if a rolling scale works anymore. And maybe we need to go back to just like a standard. Of course, I always say 10. That's maybe too much, but at least 8 for these major categories.
I think 8 is appropriate. I mean, especially given that comedy had such a low submission rate. So we're gonna have 5 in all the leads, and then supportings are varying. So supporting drama are gonna be 7. So we didn't cross to get 8 nominees, the max. We're getting 1 more in supporting comedies this year. They had 6 last year. We're gonna get 7, and then we have 6 in limited. And that actually then opens things up because Sissy Spacek, who I have been predicting for like months now, didn't submit. I'm sure that was like her own choice, maybe, not to. And we've seen what the Academy has done in the last few years. They go down the line in ballots. So if they've seen the show, they'll just vote for an actor from that show. So that's, I think, good news, notably for Chloe Sevigny from Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story, because she had been bubbling on there. But that show, I think, is just going to do really, really well. I think it's Netflix. People saw it. I think it's going to do fine. I think the most notable thing I have happening, and these aren't my final predictions yet, I don't have a show breaking 20 nominations, and I think that'd be a first in a really long time that we don't have a 20 plus nominated show.
Yeah. And that's kind of a combination of, again, because there are fewer nominees this year, but also maybe it's a good sign that they are spreading the wealth around a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I mean, I think a good thing to start with drama. I think I feel, and everyone could prove me wrong here, I feel like there's such an established 8 there that it feels so like Andor, Diplomat, Last of Us, Pitt, Severance, Slow Horses, Squid Game, White Lotus. Is there room? Sure. You have to pick the right one to be kicked out, and then you have to pick the right one to come in, and no one can really agree on what number 9 and 10 are. I say it's maybe Handmaid's Tale and maybe Matlock.
Yeah, although you also have Paradise up there, so that's
Paradise up there too.
Paradise has been campaigning hard, so I could see that still in the mix too.
Yeah. And Jazz won't have us live in a nation that doesn't recognize slow horses, so it can't be that one that misses. Squid Game had a rough season, but again, that's never stopped the Emmys before from voting for something. Ask Homeland.
True. I do
Homeland
think
about that.
that may be the one that's vulnerable, though. Even though it was by far the most watched show last year, but it's kind of been eclipsed recently by much more campaigning going on by some of these other shows, particularly Paradise. So yeah,
I mean, no, I love Slow Horses. You know I do. I just feel like it aired so long ago. I know they've campaigned it. Is that the one that gets sacrificed? Like, does that drop
or do
out?
do they both get sacrificed?
Right. And does Paradise get in?
I mean, listen. There's been a big general feeling. We've spoken about this before, so I'm not even talking out of pocket here. That we were really unsure about how many people actually watched Slow Horses, and then it got in last year. But a lot of
not about horses, by the way.
Not about horses or slow people. So last year when it got in, we chalked that up to that it's strike year. I mean, the morning show got in and did bulky numbers. Which is a lot less submissions, but I always go back to it won writing. Like, and that just did one. I'm like, it had no business winning writing when Shogun was there and The Crown, and it did. So I feel like that's got to mean something.
Yeah. No, it's Slow Horses is one that, it was a slow burn, but because those Apple shows take a while, but it picked up steam. And, funny enough, there's a similar thing going on the comedy side where Shrinking was sort of a slow burn Apple TV Plus show, but now, it's likely to make that top 8.
Yeah, I mean, I think that also benefits from submission stuff. I have it on the lower end. I think I have it at 7. And then, what we do with The Shadows has been a staple of the category. It's its final season. I feel much better about Nobody Wants Us now than I have in recent weeks.
Mm-hmm.
That in 4 seasons, I thought they were going to split the boat in a lot of areas. I think that still may be the case in some spots. But 4 seasons really peaked when it came out and then subsided pretty fast. I really love the show, but I don't know how much it's actually going to get. I am looking, though, at Righteous Gemstones to be like the res dogs of this, man. just final season, pop in, hi, I'm a nominee, on my way out. Thanks for this. It was great.
I wonder if, is there a chance that it kind of steals the What We Do in the Shadows slot as sort of that cult favorite comedy, quirky comedy that, fans really love, and it might land that slot and push out Shadows.
Same voting demographic, I'd argue, too. Like, they seem like the same type of voter. Listen, we say I've said this also, Shrinking is still an unproven strong contender, right? This is second season. We thought it was going to, I had it, I think, getting like 14 nominations. Season 1, it got 2. So it could make this comeback, but who knows where that goes. And then Agatha All Along, even though wasn't beloved, that Disney voting block means a lot. I imagine Andor people might be voting for it. And Agatha should do well in Tex, which also could help it land into series. And then there's some heartwarming shows like Man on the Inside, depending on how many people got to it. That could be a thing. And then Rehearsal was big these last few weeks.
Right. I think that's probably a tougher one to get in, Rehearsal, since people still aren't quite sure what to make of that, even though I enjoyed it. And like you said, then there's the key 4, of course, the Studio Hacks, The Bear, and Abbott Elementary. I really key 5.
Only Murders is in there too.
So those 5 are, not to use that term lock, but really we're talking about the 3 other slots then that could sort of be a mix.
Yeah, I mean the big thing I'm keeping an eye on is the studio, because right now, currently, I have it as the most nominated series of the year with 19. If it goes past, if it's 20, it ties Ted Lasso's record, most nominated freshman series. Anything above that, it breaks the record. So it's very, very close. So it has a ton of guest stars, as some supporting. possibilities, with Catherine Hahn, Catherine O'Hara. I think Chase Sue, is that her name?
Chase Sue
Right?
Wonders.
Yeah. Chase Who Wonders, I think, is a sneaky get in, like Sarah Niles was for Ted Lasso. No one even knew that she was going to be on there. So the studio could really, break the comedy record for a freshman series.
Oh.
1 year, Ghosts is going to make it in.
1 year, hopefully, man.
Oh, we gotta get Ghost in there. Ghost should be
now
in
that What We Do in the Shadows is gone, I really feel like all those votes next year go to Ghost.
Maybe there's the comedy, the creepy comedy votes.
We've got to do more. We got to do more to get.
And then
all right, on to limited. So just 5.
pesky 5. I mean, the 3 that are locks: Adolescence, The Penguin, and Monsters. I don't think you get a lineup without them. I feel really good about a number 4 with Dying for Sex. I feel like that's okay, at least for the moment. And that last slot, I think, is between Black Mirror, Presumed Innocent, Say Nothing as a really good surprise Pam and Tommy type vote, and Disclaimer, or Sirens, really just to throw people off.
Yeah. Although
I wish it was Dope Thief. I love Dope Thief.
I was gonna say Dope Thief. I mean, got a lot of attention. It's such a great title.
I felt people were watching it. If I knew that in my heart, I would feel so good about it. But I just I don't. If you guys can open my eyes to it, I want to know if it's widely watched.
I feel like people didn't talk about it, like, outside of our bubble. And I think that's going to be...
It's the tough, again, the Apple TV Plus thing. I think what it has as its advantage is Brian Tyree Henry. Even though people didn't watch it, they probably see him and think, oh, this has got to be good.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to vote for it anyway. It sounds dope.
If Presumed Innocent had came out 2 months ago, it would totally be in. I mean, the thing going against Presumed Innocent, I think it was widely watched. It came out so long ago. It came out like June 2nd, I think, of last year. And no one did any press for this because Jake was on Broadway and everyone's doing their thing. Black Mirror dropped towards the end, but they've never done Black Mirror before. But in addition, Black Mirror has been jumping categories over the years. So it's never been a real opportunity to embrace it. This would be the time if they wanted to. And Say Nothing, I think I put that in the same boat as Dope Thief. If I felt like enough people watch it, I'd be like, it's in. There's no way.
I'm curious about Dying for Sex. Like, I feel like that obviously gets in. I feel Michelle gets in. Obviously, Sissy doesn't now because she didn't submit. Don't underestimate Jenny Slate, though.
Sissy Spacek handed Jenny Slate a nomination by sitting this one out.
There you go.
My God, just like, here, Jenny, go get your nom now. It's okay. Walk on in. It's great. It's great for her. But yeah, I mean that's like, but again, that leads like the 5 nominees. So of lead. So the good thing, that's why Michelle, like, her and Kristen Milioti are going to fight that out. That's why I think that's going to bring their shows in. And then supporting gets really interesting because there just aren't a lot of supporting people from the same shows. We don't have a White Lotus that like someone really one show can occupy the entire category. There really are taking bits and pieces from everyone.
Now, real quick, because I feel like there's been a little more attention on the TV movie category lately. We've written about it, sort of what's the future of the TV movie category. It's sort of an interesting category this year because we've been talking a little bit more about with Mountainhead coming in at the last minute, and then the question of Bridget Jones, Men About the Boy, is that a movie or is that a TV movie? Rebel Ridge. So ultimately, do we think is Mountainhead making that top 5? Is the gamble going to pay off for Jesse Armstrong and HBO?
I feel like in the end it just might. Like, Jesse Armstrong does enough. Like, his name holds enough weight. And again, do I think there's any other nominations? No. But I think like Rebel Ridge, Bridget Jones, Mountainhead, like, probably feel okay. And then Nona's actually might make it because it's Netflix and actually it's pretty good. And I love Stephen Chbosky a lot. And then you're going for a spot that can go to Out of Mind. I don't know if they've seen the Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat. They should, because it's actually really good and tender and sweet. Am
I
I
saw the
okay?
play. I actually saw that play at the Mark Taper. So,
Oh, did you?
yeah.
Oh, was it good on?
Yeah, it was good on stage.
Wow, awesome. And then I wonder if they'll do G20 just for fun. Like, why not? Viola Davis is the president, man. It's the way it should be.
The way it should be. Absolutely.
It's such a good fantasy movie.
Now, the other series category that I'm curious about is obviously talk. And this year we're down to 3 possibilities. I mean, what a mess. This is just a
one
mess.
short of getting 4.
Yeah. So
one mission short.
Now, looking at your predictions, I don't know if they're changing these at all, but right now you have Hot Ones as one of the 3.
So, and this, again, this is the kind of unproven entity, but my mindset, when you have 3 slots to fill, if it was 4 slots, I wouldn't be predicting Hot Ones, believe it or not. I think it has a better shot when there's a field of 3, because now, if it was the 4, I think we would get our standard 4 that we've had: Daily Show, Colbert, Seth Meyers, and who's the other one? Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel. It would just be them. So now that there are 3, I think Colbert, Myers, and Kimmel don't get as many votes as they normally get, because I think they're going to split. I think Daily Show is the only one that kind of feels like it's definitely in there, because it's also the reigning champ. So I think those 3 split votes, and then passion starts to come through now that people are like, I want to see if Hot Ones, Hot Ones is a talk show. I watch it, like it pops up on stuff. I think it can get in. It's a populist choice. Mulaney is also, I think, somewhat on the bubble. I think his show hasn't been performing as well as the others have, obviously. But I think in a field of 3, Hot Ones has a better shot. I don't know if I'm going to predict him in the end, but I think it's a real possibility. And they did a push, a huge push for him. They had him everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Half the time moderated by Clayton Davis.
I mean, moderated by me on this podcast, it's a good dude. Its new season is airing right now, pulling a bear method.
Yeah, and I gotta say, Sean Evans. I mean, he even showed up on the Conan O'Brien, Mark Twain special on Netflix. Where, he's right alongside the other big hosts, like Colbert, and so they've really elevated him to at that level now.
Yeah,
a host alongside those pros. So it's.
I also think I was thinking about that. I also thought of Have I Got News for You? Because people love Roy Wood Jr. a lot, and obviously it's a trio on that show. But the way news is going nowadays, I wonder if people want to reward something like that, or is it the CNN factor that keeps people at arm's length?
Yeah, at least you're not predicting Gutfeld.
He did not submit. He did not submit, unfortunately. Next time.
Don't put that out there. Oh my God.
Put that out there. All right. Well, any other tidbits that you want to enforce with the voters?
Yes. I want to talk about real quick the sister category of Talk Series Scripted Variety that has 6 submissions and is typically it is a jury category, but it opened up to the entire Academy during voting. So now you have to watch the screeners in order to vote. So do with that what you will. I don't like SNL and John Oliver. I guess I'll see you at the show.
I mean, it's the only 2. And that's just the way that category is going to be until they figure it out.
But opening up the entire Academy, 24,000 people. I'm not saying 24,000 people vote, but it's risky.
Yeah. All right. Well, that we still got time. It won't be until mid-July that we actually get the nominations. So we'll probably chat again.
What a turnaround, man.
This all happens.
It's a month away.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, vote with your heart, everyone. Listen to your heart.
Listen to your heart. You should.
When it's calling to you. And on that note, we're heading out. We got Uzo Aduba and Randall Park. on this episode.
I love you, Randall. I love you too, Uza. I love Randall Park so much.
Yeah, they're good
They're
people.
so great. And the residents.
Yeah. All right.
Bye.
Bye.
After the break, The Resident stars Uzo Aduba and Randall Park. From the best city in the world, Los Angeles, California, this is the Variety Award Circuit Podcast. And we're back. It's the Variety Award Circuit Podcast. I'm Michael Schneider. Netflix's The Residents was created by Paul Williams Davies and based on the Kate Anderson Brower book, The Residents, Inside the Private World of the White House. In the series, Uzo Aduba plays Cordelia Cupp, deemed the best detective in the world. She's called to the White House when White House Chief Usher A.B. Winter, played by Giancarlo Esposito, is murdered in the middle of an Australian state dinner. Among those guiding Cupp in her investigation is FBI Special Agent Edwin Park, played by Randall Park, and their relationship forms some of the most humorous and awkward moments in the series.
I don't understand Switzerland. There's Swiss German and Swiss Italian and Swiss French, but is there anything that's just Swiss?
Roger Federer.
And do not tell me that this is all just interesting.
I'll admit it is interesting.
Go!
If I asked you to find a yellow-throated longclaw, what would you do?
Is that a bird?
Yes,
I thought it sounded like a bird.
it is a bird.
I guess I'd first probably ask you to spell it again. You said long jaw. Is it L-O?
Never mind.
Variety's Award Circuit podcast recently sat down with Aduba and Park to talk about what drew them to The Residents, how they instantly found chemistry, whether there could be another season, and what else they have lined up. I began by telling the two of them that they need to take this on the road.
We plan to.
Yes, we plan to. We're starting a detective business.
Yeah.
Just solving local first.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
In the neighborhood.
Yep.
I think you should.
Cats, mostly.
Yeah.
So, have you learned a lot about birds now too? Uzo, is this something you can utilize in your day-to-day life?
Not at all. But I know more about birds than I thought I would ever know about them. I'd never heard of a grackle before.
Yep.
I know what that purple grackle. I know the saw-whet owl, spotted owl, snow-spotted owl. I came in knowing what a hummingbird and a red robin are, and now I know.
Right.
Now I know what a giant ampida is.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
and there are people, by the way, who watch television shows and films, and bird aficionados who have this has become an issue lately. People are calling out productions for having the wrong sounds of birds.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, that show takes place in the South. No, then why am I hearing this?
Wow.
Oh,
And
wow. Yeah.
So I think Foley artists or whoever are doing the sound, they're being called out now. This is the internet for you.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I feel strongly that perhaps our bird sounds came correct.
I would think so.
If I'm a betting woman.
Yeah, just the amount that Paul William Davies is
The attention
meticulous about the details.
And yeah, I got to say, Paul William Davies. So I asked him to put together an equation, what would the math equation be of what The Residents is? And he says he pitched it as Knives Out plus Big Little Lies plus Murder on the Orient Express plus All the President's Men plus Faulty Towers, and then throw in a little bit of Clue, The Last of Sheila, The Third Man, Noises Off, and JFK.
Wow, I would have gotten a really bad grade on my SATs if these were actual equations.
What does that sound like? I mean, it's because he's not wrong.
No.
There's a little taster of a little bit of everything in this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I know Paul to be is what Randall just said. He's incredibly meticulous and detail-oriented, and he's such a lover of the genre and so knowledgeable about it as well, that I think that honest love, it's impossible to not pour into all the spaces of stories that have existed before it and bring all of that to The Residents. And I honestly think that's what makes it really exciting as well, from the title card of each episode to the characters and how he built and structured the show, and the characters on the show. I think giving a piece of that flavor from that love, that real love letter to the genre is what makes the show unique and was wonderful to read.
Oh my gosh, the scripts were a real kind of trip into Paul's mind, the way his mind works, and literally in the in the character kind of action lines, the things that you don't see on screen, but he would include personal details, little side anecdotes, little jokes. I mean, it really, reading those scripts was really a trip.
And the hallmark of a good show like this is, of course, all the misdirects and all the as you guys were reading these scripts, like, were you sort of getting more enthralled and like, okay, so who did do it? I have no clue. After reading even like episode 7, I'm sure you're like, oh, it still could be anyone.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's what made it exciting. What's so great about the show, I think, that Paul has written is that it challenges the audience to guess. And he never doubts just how smart the audience is to sort of keep pace with the story that he's writing. And we're keeping pace and reading, and I'm getting just as enthralled and just as excited reading it, wondering who it could be. I came in very, very sure of who I thought it was, and it was not that person, for the record.
Who did you think it was going to be?
I thought it was Jasmine. And then I thought it was Jasmine and Henry. I thought Harry Hollinger did it, but she had something to do with it. That's what I thought in the end. That's where I landed in the end, until I found out who did it, in fact. And I was sure of it, too. I was really sure of it, too. But I think that's what's really exciting about a well-constructed murder mystery. You really are kept guessing until that final moment when the killer is revealed, and their why and how. The how is always clear, but the why is always just wrapped in mystery and curiosity. And I think we have that here. And I was really chasing pavement for a while, watching, or reading rather, the show, and he kept me guessing, which was exciting because I was guessing to the end.
So what did you make of your character? So what sort of drew you to this, and knowing that she's a very unique character with all of her quirks, but also just fun to watch?
Oh, wow. I loved her. I think the first thing for me was I was able to really loudly hear her voice when I started reading the script. Like Randall just said, you could very clearly get a sense of Paul's voice and humor and style in the writing from the things that he would include that are for the reader, really, just a delicious read. And then from Cordelia, I could really clearly hear the cadence of her speech. I could see how she incorporates her birding hobby lifestyle into her investigative detective work. I was drawn to how fast she processes information. There's just a needle from a tree in the game room, and all of this information that she was able to extract from that and all these other abandoned objects in there, that the dudes, as she calls them in the room, who'd been there for some time before her, were not able to put together. And I thought that was very telling about how excellent she really is at her job, that upon walking in the room, she's able to make one very clear assessment that Edwin Park, Randall's character, picks up on also pretty quickly as well. She's able to find those pieces of information and put those puzzle pieces together really quickly. And that really drew me to the character, and understanding that this is a woman who not only loves her job, but is excellent at her job, is not necessarily apologetic about being that excellent at it. And she is going to walk everybody through her process that will inevitably lead to the solve.
And I love the backstory too, when we get to learn about when she tells the story of her sister's strawberry sock, and sort of the that whole, like, the narration. That was sort of fun to sort of get an insight into, okay, what made this character?
Oh yeah, for sure. She's been this way for a long time. She's always been able to pick at detail since she was a child. What I also found really exciting about that backstory piece, though, was the question of what do we do to protect ourselves? You know, we get to learn from a distance that as a child, Cordelia and her family have suffered loss, a huge loss. And what was interesting to explore is we're meeting her on the other side of loss. We don't get to meet her before loss. And so I always had this question pulling at me, nagging at me, really. Is this who she is, or is this who she had to be to get through it? You know?
Yeah. And Randall, what's interesting is, you know, we know you so much for, you know, comedies and doing Fresh Off the Boat for all those years, but at the same time, you've had this sort of side career of playing a lot of government, you know, officials and, you know, that's another FBI guy. So you kind of, you know, it fits you very well to see you also in that role. What do you make of that and sort of this interesting journey that you've been on with your career and you know, getting sort of to do those kind of roles in addition to some of the other things that you've been doing?
Yeah. Well, you know, at first when I had this project presented to me, I read the scripts and I thought, wow, again, the writing was unlike anything I had ever read before. But I didn't know if I quite wanted to play another FBI agent, you know, and
but you wear it well. You wear those suits well.
So a part of me was, you know, I was kind of on the fence, even though it was, again, the project was so great, and the appeal of working in Shondaland was very exciting.
Yeah, they've got roller coasters, I hear, and it's a fun place. So that Shondaland,
cotton candy, all that. So that
and murder.
That's right. But I couldn't stop thinking about the script, you know, and Paul's writing and how unique it was. And then I found out that Uzo would be playing Cordelia Cup. And then right away I was like, I hope this role hasn't been cast yet, because I got to do it.
Yeah.
I got to do it. The thought of you know, the material, being able to act with this material, and then to act opposite someone as just incredibly uniquely talented as Uzo Aduba was. It was like it's something I couldn't not do. So I signed on, and I'm so glad I did, because it was such an incredible experience and a very rewarding experience. And also, you know, with its trials and tribulations that our entire cast and crew went through with the strikes and the passing of Andre, it was definitely a road that we were on that was not without its bumps and difficult times, but it brought us all so close, and the experience was just so special, on top of the show being so special.
Yeah. No, I can imagine. And so, by the way, when were you cast as Moriarty on? So, was there sort of did you talk to Paul about that? Like, oh, hey, by the way, I'm continuing my my journey in the detective space now.
I don't know. It's so cloudy to me. When I believe that was after. After we shot, concluded with the Residence production on the Residence, and that was, again, it was like a fun kind of opportunity to play something different. You know,
that was really different. So I watched Watson. I'm like, oh shit, Randall's scary. He's not joking here. He's a villain.
Yeah, the idea of playing a villain is just you know, I've gotten to play a few in my career, but you know, Kim Jong-un in the interview is a little different from James Moriarty.
Sure. That's a little heightened. That's a little different. But
so that was also great fun, but different, very different.
Now, I was going to say, both of you, you know, we talk about sort of the overachievers during Emmy season, and you both have so many different things going at the same time. Of course, Uzo, you also have the Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat. So it's kind of good good to be working. Good busy time for both of you. But what sort of this whole Emmy season is it's always an interesting world to be in to be campaigning. What are you finding now, and when you're hitting the streets that people want to know about the residents when you have a chance to talk to folks who have consumed the show? Are there burning questions, Uzo, that they still have for you?
Burning questions. I mean, the number one thing is always for sure the who did it is for sure, like the surprise and the shock for the show, I think for sure. I definitely
we won't give spoilers.
No spoilers here at all. And I will say, like big love for Edwin Park.
Yeah.
and Cordelia and that pairing.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's so great, thank you, by the way, sidebar, like for all of that love. That was so generous. But like Edwin's Park, played by Randall's character, was just such a force and such just a joy to watch on screen. It's just, Randall is such amazing light, and I cannot say enough. Like,
well, I feel like it's a good pairing because you both you exude a lot of chemistry with folks that you generally work with, and so I sense it sort of was pretty just fun to play in this space. Talk a little bit about that and working together.
The chemistry isn't always, at least in my experience, it's not always automatic in person, but with Uzo, it was automatic.
Yeah.
She felt like an old friend immediately. And we just, again, had such a great time. And I think that bled into the performances, that connection, even though she was berating me as Cordelia.
Yeah. That's part of the fun.
Yeah. And Uzo's such a good actor that, I couldn't help but get hurt every time she did, which I was
and inside
supposed to do.
I was like, woof, I was like, this is the worst, maybe the nicest person I've ever met in my life. So I have to say those things too.
But that's why you're amazing actors to pull that off.
But yeah, a real joy, this one right here.
Yes.
Yeah.
We had a great time.
So what's the plan for season 2?
Well, we already said no spoilers.
Exactly. There are armed guards at Shondaland.
Exactly. Next to those roller coasters.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But I mean, I love the fact that it's such a big ensemble too. And you got to work with a lot of fun folks on this. And then also Kylie Minogue.
Phenomenal.
Incredible.
Phenomenal.
I just love a weird, sort of unexpected tweak. Suddenly Kylie Minogue is there, and for much of the show, she's just standing there lip syncing.
Yeah, but was so professional and so funny too. By the way, I think is also important to note, and just so lovely every single day. Truly lovely, very warm, kind, generous.
She won a Grammy the night before one of our days on set, and she's just doesn't even talk about it.
Yeah, talk about exactly.
And it was I'd be wearing the Grammy around my neck.
And she's like, whatever, it's fine.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I want to hear your Kylie Minogue, actually.
Well, you just heard it. I'm not going to do it again because I was underwhelmed and unimpressed, frankly.
Do you guys fan out on any folks? Anyone who, I mean, again, such a great cast. But speaking of people who are wonderful in everything they do and everywhere, Giancarlo is a delight. But
yes.
I'm sure there's quite a few people that you had fun with playing with.
Oh my God. Giancarlo Esposito, Jane Curtin was just amazing.
Yeah. There's some SNL
Jason
royalty.
too. I was Jason,
Jason
big fan of his. Jason Lee, it was amazing every single time.
So amazing.
He was amazing. The whole
Al Franken.
Oh yeah, good one.
I was tripping out over sitting in that, particularly sitting in those congressional hearings.
Yes,
and seeing Al Franken in front of me, it was just very surreal.
Yeah.
For sure.
No, he should still be senator.
Yes, correct.
He should.
Yeah. Well, that's so. Yeah, you can't say much about season 2, but. nonetheless, what else are you guys excited about coming up? We were talking a little bit beforehand, Randall, that you've number of things that you've got coming up. Anything you can talk about that you're excited to share with the kids?
Gosh, I never know what you could talk about.
Yeah.
Break some news, Randall.
He wants spoilers.
Exactly. We are variety. We welcome your tidbits.
Tease 'em.
No,
I will say,
a lot of exciting things, possibilities. Always, in this business, especially as actors, it's like you never know for sure until you're on set.
I gotta say, so because it's been a while since I've had a chance to talk to you, but I feel like during the pandemic, especially my kids, especially my youngest son, he discovered Fresh Off the Boat because he was too young during the first run, and he binged it, and just like now, like he can't stop talking about it. When he sees you on TV, it's like, oh yeah. So it's kind of, I'm sure you hear that a lot from people.
What's the dad from Fresh Off the Boat doing menacing Watson?
Exactly. Things got a little dark. So, and
that's really cool. I find that a lot of kids, and I'm sure it's not just Fresh Off the Boat, it's so many shows, but a lot of kids are finding these things and becoming fans, and that's so cool.
Yeah. No, I'm not sure if the young kids are finding Orange is the New Black yet, but wait a few years.
No, you'd be surprised. No, you'd be surprised. No, yeah. Could you imagine? Kindergartnners.
Yeah, exactly.
Standing.
It's like, that's when you question their parents' parenting, but that's fine. It's more the merrier. What? So Uzo, can you? Is there anything coming up that you're excited about that may be coming soon?
I have a movie coming out this fall called The Roof Man, Derek Cianfrance film, that I'm excited about, that I can share that.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I'm really just sharing because it's already out in the world.
Yeah. You're allowed to share.
Yeah. So yeah, that's.
And then do we know when maybe cameras roll on another season of The Residence? We're dark. I just got a note saying that is this mic still working? No. Yeah. Listen, in all sincerity, what I do know is that I loved working with Randall Park here, sitting to my left. I loved making this show. We had a real joy, everyone, telling this story and going on this adventure. And what I know also is that right now, Cordelia Cup, and this is true for every character that I play, is the truth of the matter. I don't think it just ends. I think they're off busy living somewhere. And so what I do know is that she will always have many more adventures going on in places and worlds that she's going to see. And that's exciting to me. That's Uzo Aduba and Randall Park, stars of The Residence, now streaming on Netflix. And that's it for this edition of Variety's Award Circuit podcast. Michael Schneider is the producer and Aaron Greenewald is the editor. Be sure to subscribe to the Award Circuit podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you download podcasts. Also, head on over to Variety.com and click on the Award Circuit tab to find the latest awards predictions and key races, as well as your daily fix of news, analysis, and reviews. For Jazz Tanke, Emily Longaretta, and Clayton Davis, I'm Michael Schneider, and we'll see you on the circuit.